Good morning to all of you. Myself, Professor Dhaval Chandarana, and we are discussing on unit number 9 SQL concept. As previously on my first video of unit number 9, in this particular video, we will discuss the basic terminology about a relational data model known as schema, subschema, and instance. After these three discussions or three basic terminology about relational data model, we are going through the basic concept or working with the MySQL. In this particular case, in this particular thing which we are discussing, creating database, how to create a database, how to drop a database with syntax and example, and later on we will discuss the three different things: show database information, select particular database, and use the particular database. I hope you all remember, and I hope you are clear all the concept which we are discussing in my previous video lecture. So today we will discuss some another steps regarding a SQL concept known as creating a table in MySQL, means how to create a table, creating table with constraint. In this particular topic we will discuss three different things: domain integrity constraint, entity integrity constraint, and a referential integrity constraint. In the particular domain integrity constraint, we will discuss a required data constraint like null constraint, check constraint, and default key constraint. In this entity integrity constraint, in this particular entity integrity, we will discuss the two different key known as primary key and a unique key. Guys, this is the today's topic which we are focusing on base of table and with different constraint. So we'll start with the same manner. First we discuss a theory, then syntax, and then example. So we'll start with the today's lecture known as creating table in MySQL. To create a database schema, we use a data definition language, because whenever we performing some create command, it is part of a DDL. DDL statement are used to build and modify the structures of your table and another object in a database. So whenever we want to create some of the structures in database server, or if you want to modify existing structures of table or database, at that time whatever command we will use, the particular command is known as part of DDL. When you execute a DDL statement, it's take effect immediately, means some of the results should be generated as it automatically into the database, or it should be auto-committed. Committed means a save particular concept which we are performing from the user side. Hence, no rollback operations undo can be performed with this set of command, because it is a auto-committed structures. Database objects are any data structures created in a database. Objects is nothing but a part of data structures. Example, if we says that a particular object known as a table, view, sequence, it is the part of data structures, or we can say database. This statement used to create a database object, and for this we are going to the creating a table in a MySQL. MySQL is nothing but a database. To create a table, we use a create table command as in the SQL. Now we see what is a syntax about how to create a table. As a left hand side, you see that a syntax of creating table is nothing to create a table. As we previously on my first lecture we discussed, whenever we use a capital letter on any of the syntax, it is not a compulsory, but it shows that it is a keyword. Means it is must be required whenever we perform some of the query. So in this particular example, create table, it is the compulsory thing. Table name, it is the user defined. In this particular table, column name, data type, and site, it is a compulsory. And with the reference of syntax, we just create one of the table known as employee, create table employee, EID, it is the column name, data type is varchar, and particular EID, size of the data storing in based on maximum 10 digit. First name, it is a column name, character is data type, and in this particular column we store a 15 character of string value. Next, birth date. In particular date data type we not provide any kind of size. So I hope you are clear how to create a table in a MySQL. To view the structures of table means if after completions of creating a table, if you want to show the actual structure or logical structures of table, you just go through the described keyword with your table name. So based on this query, you just see the structures of table. So in this particular thing, we will discuss how to create a table and how to show a particular structures of a table with help of describe keyword. Now we discuss creating table with a constraint, means with the sets of rules. First we discuss a domain integrity constraint. In this particular domain integrity constraint, first we discuss what is a domain constraint. A domain constraint allow us to test whether the value inserted into the database are correct or not. Means before inserting any information from the user side, it must be verified it should be a correct one or not. It is known as a domain constraint. In this particular domain integrity constraint, we will discuss a three different things. First one, required data constraint or a null constraint. This attribute is a database are not allowed to containing a null value or a blank value. જ્યારે કોઈ પર્ટિક્યુલર કોલમની અંદર યુઝર બ્લેન્ક વેલ્યુ સબમિટ કરતો હોય અને આપણે ના કરવા દેવી હોય, એટ ધેટ ટાઈમે આપણે રિક્વાયર્ડ ડેટા કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટ અથવા તો નલ કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટનો યુઝ કરવાનો છે. એક્ઝામ્પલ, ઇન ધ સ્ટુડન્ટ ડેટાબેઝ every student must have an associated student name. Student name should not be null. Means જો સ્ટુડન્ટના ટેબલની અંદર આપણે સ્ટુડન્ટની ઇન્ફોર્મેશન્સ એડ કરાવડાવીએ છીએ અથવા તો કોઈ યુઝર સ્ટુડન્ટ ટેબલની અંદર સ્ટુડન્ટની ઇન્ફોર્મેશન એડ કરે છે તો સ્ટુડન્ટનું નેમ હોવું કમ્પલસરી છે. મીન્સ એ બ્લેન્ક અથવા તો નલ સબમિટ ના કરી શકે. તો એની માટે શું કરશું? ક્રિએટ અ ટેબલ સ્ટુડન્ટ અંડરસ્કોર નેમ કોલમનું નેમ છે, કેરેક્ટર ડેટા ટાઈપ છે, રાઉન્ડ બ્રેકેટમાં એની સાઇઝ છે, અને આપણે રિક્વાયર્ડ ડેટા કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટ ઓર નલ કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટ માટે નોટ નલ કીવર્ડ યુઝ કરેલો છે. નોટ નલ કીવર્ડ્સથી શું થશે કે જ્યારે કોઈ પણ યુઝર સ્ટુડન્ટ નામના ટેબલમાં સ્ટુડન્ટ નેમ એન્ટર નહીં કરે અથવા તો બ્લેન્ક એન્ટર કરાવશે તો એ ડેટા ઇન્સર્ટ નહીં થાય. અને એની માટે આપણે શું કરવાનું છે? કોલમની પાછળ નોટ નલ કીવર્ડનો યુઝ કરવાનો છે. સેકન્ડ થિંગ, check constraint. This check constraint is used to ensure that an attribute value satisfies specific condition as specified by a data requirement. Means particular column na particular value insert થવી જોઈએ, નો કોઈ બીજી value insert થવી જોઈએ, ના કે એને blank value submit થવી જોઈએ. Example, table with the customer entity having a name, CID and gender which can be MEM or F. Means a customer table ની અંદર ત્રણ કોલમ છે, નેમ, CID અને જેન્ડર, અને જેન્ડરની અંદર આઈધર મેલ એન્ટર થવું જોઈએ અથવા તો કેપિટલ M ઓર કેપિટલ F. જો યુઝર બીજું કાંઈ એન્ટર કરશે તો રેકોર્ડ ઇન્સર્ટ નહીં થાય. જો આપણે એવી કોઈ કન્ડિશન્સ વેરીફાઈ કરાવી હોય તો આપણે ચેક કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટનો યુઝ કરશું. Hence, attributes gender can take only two value, either M or either F. So whenever end user want to insert some of the record in a customer table, in this particular gender attribute, they must be insert either capital M or either capital M. Another value they can't inserting or they can't insert any of the record within a M or F in particular gender attributes. So for this, create table customer, name character 25 not null as we discussed on a previously, gender character 1 because we must be ensure that the value it either M or F. That's why we just add a one character size of particular gender column. CHEK check gender in M single quotation comma F single quotation. So whenever user want to insert some of the record in customer table, they must be enter a gender attributes with either capital M or either capital F. Third constraint, it is a default keyword. If user doesn't want to insert any of the record, it must be work with the default keyword. Default keyword is used to add some of the value if no attribute value added for the tuple. Means if user by mistake they are not inserting, or with the instances they are not inserting any value of this particular attributes, so on a default case they directly take this particular value. We will just give you the example. Table with the customer entity having name, CID and the gender, in which CID is a primary key. If name is not added for the customer, that will be take as unknown, because on the particular first case we discuss a customer name never be accept a null value. So in how user by mistake not enter any of the customer name whenever they insert a customer record in a customer table, they directly take a default value known as unknown. પહેલા જ કેસમાં નોટ નલ કેસમાં આપણે એવું ચેક કર્યું કે કસ્ટમર ટેબલના કસ્ટમર અંડરસ્કોર નેમ નામની કોલમમાં બ્લેન્ક વેલ્યુ સબમિટ ન કરવી જોઈએ, એની માટે આપણે નોટ નલ કીવર્ડ યુઝ કર્યો. જો કદાચ આપણે નોટ નલ યુઝ નથી કરતા તો બાય ડિફોલ્ટ બ્લેન્ક વેલ્યુ જશે, અને બાય ડિફોલ્ટ બ્લેન્ક વેલ્યુ ના જાય અને સમ ઓફ ધ વેલ્યુ જાય, એ સમ ઓફ ધ વેલ્યુ પણ ડિફોલ્ટ વેલ્યુ, તો એની માટે આપણે ડિફોલ્ટ કીવર્ડનો યુઝ કરશું. હવે જે એક્ઝામ્પલ જોવાના છે એમાં એવું છે કે કસ્ટમર ટેબલમાં કસ્ટમર નેમ જો કોઈ યુઝર એન્ટર કરતા ભૂલી જાય છે તો એમાં કસ્ટમર નેમ અનનોન બાય ડિફોલ્ટ જશે. તો એની માટે આપણે શું કરવાનું છે? ક્રિએટ ટેબલ કસ્ટમર, નેમમાં કેરેક્ટર 25 અને ડિફોલ્ટ કીવર્ડ સાથે સિંગલ કોટેશનમાં અનનોન વેલ્યુ આપી દેશું. એટલે જો ડેટાબેઝની અંદર પર્ટિક્યુલર કસ્ટમર ટેબલમાં કોઈ યુઝર વેલ્યુ ઇન્સર્ટ કરે છે અને નેમમાં કોઈ વેલ્યુ ઇન્સર્ટ નથી કરતું, બ્લેન્ક છોડી દે છે, તો એ બાય ડિફોલ્ટ શું જશે? અનનોન. આઈ હોપ યુ આર ક્લિયર all the entity integrity constraint. I will just remind you that what is the entity. Whenever we verified some of the information at the insertion time, it should be acceptable or not, it should be valid or not. At that time we are using entity integrity constraint. In this particular concept we are discussing not null constraint. Second one which we are discussing a particular check constraint, particular value it should be acceptable, it is based on check constraint. And the last one we are discussing default keyword. Second thing which we are discussing, creating table with constraint known as entity integrity constraint. Entity integrity constraint are used to test the value inserted into the database as corrected or not with the respect to another tuple in the same table. Means in this entity integrity we verify with a comparison concept. Means one of the tuple it should be verified with some of the another tuples. For this we will discuss a two different thing with a two different constraint, primary key constraint and unique key constraint. Primary key attribute is same as a unique key constraint with a not null constraint. Means જ્યારે તમે કોઈ કોલમને અથવા તો એટ્રીબ્યુટ્સને પ્રાઇમરી કી ડિફાઇન કરો છો તો એ બ્લેન્ક વેલ્યુ સબમિટ નહીં થવા દે, યુનિક રેકોર્ડ કમ્પલસરી માગશે, અને બાય ડિફોલ્ટ તમે એમાં બ્લેન્ક વેલ્યુ સબમિટ નહીં કરી શકો, નલ વેલ્યુ પણ તમે એમાં સબમિટ નહીં કરી શકો. Primary key attributes values needs to be a unique as well as a null values are not allowed in a primary key attributes as we discussed in previously. The main difference in unique constraint and a primary key constraint is that one null value is allowed in a unique constraint which can be treated as a unique value, while nulls are not allowed in a primary key constraint. Please guys, it is the really important thing to identify on a practical point of view, on exam point of view, or we can say in exam point of view. If some of the person who can ask the particular questions, what is the difference between primary key and unique key? You have just simply says that in a unique key constraint, one column allowed a null value because it is treated as unique value. But in a primary key, not a single case will be allowed by a null thing. I hope you are clear. It is the really important thing to remember on up to the lifetime. Now we will discuss with example how to perform a primary key. Example, table with the customer entity having a name, CID and gender, which CID is a primary key. So how we can define a CID primary key in customer table? Create table customer, name character 25, CID character 10, and it is a primary space key. It is based on the concept of column point of view. If you want to perform a table point of view, at that time also possible, you just mention a primary key and in form of round bracket you just mention a column name. It is a column level defined primary key. There are some second option, it is known as a table level primary key. But now we will discuss a column level primary key. શું કરવાનું છે? જે કોલમને આપણે પ્રાઇમરી કી ડિફાઇન કરવી છે એ કોલમના નામ, ડેટા ટાઈપ અને સાઇઝની પછી આપણે પ્રાઇમરી કી લખવાનું છે. પ્રાઇમરી અને કીની વચ્ચે સ્પેસ આવશે. Second thing, a unique key. Now we know that what is the actual difference between a primary key and unique key. In the case of unique key constraint, no two tuples can have equal value for the same attributes because the name itself suggests it must be a unique value. This constraint says that a attribute forms a candidate key which allow one null value which is unique by itself, because it is the actual difference between a primary key and unique key. In a primary key, nothing will be allowed by the null value, but in unique key, one of the tuples will allow a null value because it is treated as unique value. This unique constraint can be applicable to the user defined domain declaration also. As previously, when we declare a primary key with help of particular column level, same thing which we are discussing with the unique key constraint. Just take an example. Name character 25, CID char 10 and email character unique. Whenever we perform a unique key constraint, at that time we just mention a unique, not defined with a key. Primary key વખતે આપણે શું કર્યું હતું? કોલમનું નેમ, ડેટા ટાઈપ અને સાઇઝ પછી પ્રાઇમરી સ્પેસ કી એવું લખ્યું હતું. યુનિક કી આપવા માટે જસ્ટ ખાલી આપણે યુનિક કીવર્ડનો યુઝ કરવાનો છે. કોલમનું નેમ, ડેટા ટાઈપ અને સાઇઝ પછી. And the third and the last thing which we are discussing of the today's video lecture, or we can say in concept of creating table with the constraint, third thing, it is known as referential integrity constraint. Name itself suggests that it is the refer with some of the another relation. A value appearing in a one relation or table for a given sets of attributes also appears for the another sets of attributes in another relation, because its name itself suggests that it is refer with some of the another table. This is called as referential integrity constraint. જ્યારે કોઈ એક ટેબલની વેલ્યુ આપણે બીજા ટેબલમાં એઝ અ રેફરન્સ યુઝ કરીએ છીએ ત્યારે એ પર્ટિક્યુલર કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટને આપણે રેફરન્શિયલ ઇન્ટિગ્રિટી કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટ કહેશું. The referential integrity constraint is defined between two tables because of first table as a primary and second table it is a secondary table who can refer with the primary table. For this we require a two table to maintain the consistency among tuples in two relation. Let's see the example how to refer some of the single table value with another table. First, we create a primary table known as create table department. In this particular department table, we have a DID column with integer keywords, integer data type, department name, a second column with varchar 100, not null, and the primary key as a DID. What was the secondary table? We can refer a department table, a create table employee. In this particular employee table, we are working with EMP ID with data type integer, EMP name column name with a varchar 100 size, not null, and DID, which is a primary key in a department table, which is referred in an employee as a referential integrity constraint. It is mentioned as DID as integer reference, use keyword with the reference. Department, it is known as table name, which is mentioned with the DID. So it is the actual thing which we are discussing in referential integrity constraint. શું કરવાનું છે? પહેલા primary key table define કરવાનું છે, જેમાં DID ને આપણે integer આપ્યું અને integer આપીને એને આપણે primary key set કરી દીધી. ઓલમોસ્ટ એવું જ હશે. જે primary key હશે એને જ આપણે second ટેબલમાં as a reference use કરશું. રેફરન્સ તરીકે યુઝ કરવા માટે શું કરવાનું થશે? સૌથી પહેલા કોલમનું નામ જેને આપણે રિફર કરીએ છીએ, એઝ ડેટા ટાઈપ રેફરન્સ કીવર્ડ્સ છે, અને કયા ટેબલના કઈ કોલમ યુઝ કરવાની છે. લાઈક અહીંયા તમે D_DID લખ્યું હોત તો ડિપાર્ટમેન્ટ ટેબલમાં D_DID કોલમને આપણે અહીંયા DID તરીકે એઝ એ રેફરન્સ યુઝ કરીએ છીએ. એઝ ઇન્ટીજર, અહીંયા પર્ટિક્યુલર એમ્પ્લોય ટેબલમાં DID નામની કોલમ છે, એની ડેટા ટાઈપ છે ઇન્ટીજર, અને એને આપણે કોનો રેફરન્સ આપીએ છીએ? ડિપાર્ટમેન્ટ ટેબલની DID કોલમનો. Guys, it is the way to learn how the creating a table with a different constraint. I hope you are enjoying this video lecture. Learn so many things from these lectures and perform some of the practical if it possible with this particular video lectures. I hope you are enjoying my all the lectures. Thank you so much.